What is up, all you beautiful people, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hello, my name is Brittany. My sister, Jessie Grace Moore, went missing from Wenatchee, Washington on June 20th of 2016 when she was only 23 years old. The day Jessie went missing, a video was taken of her at Centennial Park where her head was shaved. To this day, we do not know if Jessie did this to herself or if someone did this to her. She is dressed in clothes she would not normally wear, as you can see in this picture. Also, none of her belongings are with her, which was out of character for Jessie. After she is seen on camera at the park, she begins walking southbound on Wenatchee Avenue, and it's as if she vanished. She has not accessed her bank account or used her phone since June 20th. Jessie is listed as an endangered missing person, and my family and I believe 100% that Jessie was met with foul play. An official suspect has never been named in her disappearance, but her case remains open to this day. And from now on, I will leave a direct line to the detective working her case down below. Please call him with any tips you may have. Nothing is too small. More videos and information on Jessie's life and disappearance are always linked in the description box if you would like to learn more. But everything I do on this channel is in honor of Jessie and spreading awareness about her disappearance as well as other missing persons cases. If that interests you, please subscribe and give this video a thumbs up because it's a free way that you can help the missing out. I love you so much, Jessie Grace, and this is for you. Jason Fox attended a get-together in the small town of Newport, Washington on September 15th of 2020. It was at this hangout where he was brutally beaten to death by those he trusted. His body was found on that same property almost 3 weeks later. Jason had been buried in a shallow grave with his hands tied behind his back. He was only 19 years old. 4 men are being charged with his murder. The motive as to why they killed Jason is still unclear, but Jason's mother, Pepper Fox, believes his murder was a result of a hate crime due to Jason's sexuality, whereas his father, Michael Fox, thinks there could be multiple reasons as to why Jason was killed, but his sexuality could have played a major role. Jason had come out to his family as gay before his death. His family was accepting of him and were happy that Jason could now be his true and authentic self. Jason made the decision to tell others outside of his family that he was bisexual. He thought that would be more widely accepted by his community. Newport is a conservative town with less than 2,300 residents. Many people have stated that the town is not accepting of the LGBTQIA+ community. Michael said, and I quote, "The sad part is I was beginning to feel like he was finally getting in touch with who he was, and he was comfortable with himself. He had finally admitted to us a long time ago. The only thing we could say is, we've known for a long time. It doesn't matter at all, son. It's best for your mental health that you are not hiding this, but it matters not to us." End quote. Jason's parents separated when he was young, and Pepper, his mom, ended up moving to the west side, but she stayed in contact with her son. Michael remarried to a woman named Susan, and she stepped in to help and raise Jason and his older brother Robbie. It took time for the boys to open up to her, but eventually they did, and there was a lot of love between them and in their household. Pepper posted this before Jason's body was found, and I quote, "He loves matcha tea, calling himself Pepper's mini-me. He loves his animals, Vans shoes, and is a good cook. Jason loves hard, tries hard, and is the spinning image of me and my father. My father would have been so proud. Jason is big, Jason is strong, Jason is a warrior. He is my last blood relative alive. Now at 40, I am alone. No one to cry over my mother with. No one that understands me. I keep wondering if he will ever get to have his first legal drink, fall in love for real, buy a house. He is supposed to start school in October. He has a full scholarship to be a nurse like I once was. He's going to be a cute nurse. Those dimples when he smiles. Eyes so big and dark. The first time I held him in my arms, I felt that overflowing cup of love you hear about. I've never loved anyone so deeply until Jason. I understand him, and he understands me. There is no feeling more horrifying than not knowing where your child is, if they're fed, if they're safe, if they're warm, if they're gone. I will not find peace until I find my baby. He is a good friend, great listener, loved to visit with the elderly, and was kind to everyone." End quote. And as I was looking into this case and listening to Pepper, Susan, Michael, and Robbie talk about Jason, you can feel how deeply loved he was by those around him, and how hard they are willing to fight for answers and for justice for Jason. The 4 men involved with Jason's murder are Kevin Belding, 24, Riley Hillstad, 28, Matthew Raddatz Freeman, 28, and Claude Merritt, 25. Now, a man named Sean Bella is not being charged with Jason's murder, but he is being charged with providing false and or misleading information to the police. As I move through the timeline and story, it's hard not to get confused, as we don't have pictures of all the men involved, or at least I'm not going to put them up. And I apologize if I get any details wrong. It is never my intention to spread false information, and I do the best research I can. But let's start with some backstory on where Jason's body was found, on the property of 22 Juergens Road. Ken and Shannon Scheckler owned the Timber River Ranch. This ranch was an idyllic wedding venue because it was situated along the Pend Oreille River, and I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Ken and Shannon's property stretched for 50 acres, so this was a secluded and wooded area of Newport. The couple had fallen on hard times for whatever reason, and Ken ended up filing for divorce. Shannon was granted full control of the ranch, and Ken was ordered to leave the premises. On September 13th, only 2 days before Jason was murdered, Shannon went to the ranch with her attorney to gather inventory for the divorce proceedings. When they arrived, Shannon described the ranch as being in complete disarray, and some of the vehicles were missing as well. Also, there were multiple people squatting on her property. Matthew Raddatz Freeman and his girlfriend Amanda Pearson were staying in the main house on the ranch, and Shannon even reported hearing a baby cry at one point. So this was just a whole mess of a situation, and it's important to note that Jason had lived with Matthew and Amanda in the past, and the couple had began living on the ranch soon after he moved out. So down a ways on a dirt road on the same property, they also found a tiny home, and this is where Riley Hillstad was squatting. When the attorney knocked on the front door, Riley answered with 2 pistols in his belt and indicated to the attorney that he had as much authority as Ken to run the place, which Ken has come out and denied this entirely. Now, I don't know what became of this whole situation and if there was an effort to have these people removed, but Ken has gone on to press charges against the group, wire fraud and theft being among some of the charges. Jason and Matthew had a history, so not only had they lived together in the past, but Jason had also reported to police that Matthew had swung a pipe at his car during an argument in June of 2020. And then in July, he also reported that Matthew and Riley Hillstad had smashed his windshield in after Jason had removed Riley's license plate. Also, Jason reported that Riley held an assault rifle and yelled at Jason, telling him he wanted to shoot him. So obviously Matthew and Riley had a history of being violent towards Jason, but I don't think anyone expected what would happen the early morning hours of September 15th. Jason was invited to come and hang out that night at the ranch, but Jason specifically asked his friend Claude Merritt if Riley would be there, and Claude promised he was not attending the hangout and that there would be no drama. Jason was skeptical of this, and he was also smart, because he took a screenshot of the address and sent it to his aunt's roommate and texted, "Just in case anything happens to me." When Jason failed to return home, he was reported as missing on September 16th. Because Jason had sent that fateful text, police requested an emergency ping from his phone. And yes, you guessed it. The last place Jason's phone pinged was at the ranch. Deputies went to the property on the 17th to look for Jason and to question those who were there the night he went missing. And these people took no time to get their story straight because pretty much everyone had different accounts as to the last time that they had seen Jason. Some said they had seen him a week or 2 ago, and others said it had been months since they had seen Jason. Matthew told police that Jason knew better than to come to that property, whatever that means, and Amanda stated Jason had been there only a week prior, but had to be escorted off the premises. Also, Kevin mentioned Jason might have traveled to Montana. So everyone had conflicting reports, and police were suspicious of the group for obvious reasons, but at this point Jason was just missing. But his family knew something was seriously wrong after a couple of days. Michael Fox had a surgery scheduled, and he knew something had happened to Jason, because he would have at least messaged his father before he went into surgery. On September 22nd, Jason's car was found abandoned just south of Libby, Montana, which is about a 2.5-hour drive from Newport. Coincidentally, phone records reported that Matthew had been at the same location in Montana on September 15th. Riley and Matthew eventually did admit to towing Jason's car to Montana, and at some point those involved recanted their initial statements and said that they had in fact seen Jason just after midnight on the 15th. On September 24th, Sean Bella messaged Riley on Facebook, and I quote, "You need to explain what happened and be a better man, dude. You can't just hide what you did to a 19-year-old kid." End quote. Police and Jason's family worked tirelessly to locate him, and then 3 weeks after he went missing, on October 4th, police were finally granted access to search the property. Tracker dogs were brought in, and they hid underneath a parked boat. A backhoe was brought in to dig up the area, and they didn't have to dig far because Jason was buried only 3 to 4 feet below.
Newport community is mourning the loss of Jason Fox, the 19-year-old who was found dead on Sunday by Pend Oreille officers. About 80 people attended the candlelight vigil, remembering his creativity, his intelligence, and his love for the people around him. And although his family is grateful for all of the guests, their mind was somewhere else.
Yeah, those 3 weeks were probably the worst 3 weeks any of us have ever had.
The Fox family finally got the answer they needed, but not the one they hoped for.
It's good to know, but it's not at the same time, because we always hoped he'd walk back through the door, and now that he's not, a piece of all of us is gone.
Jason's father, Michael, says he is not ruling out the possibility of his death being a hate crime, as Jason was bisexual.
It's ridiculous for anyone to hate someone else because of who they love. My standard line is, in a world absolutely overflowing with ugliness, shouldn't we celebrate the beauty of a love, whatever form that takes?
The group was brought in for individual questioning on November 7th. Now, this is close to a month after Jason's body was found, which seems like a long time, and I don't know why it took so long or if they had questioned the group in the past. And of course, there is no honor amongst thieves and killers, and everyone in the group started pointing fingers. So this information is from Creme News, and it is summarizing the men's statements. Claude initially told investigators that Matthew had gotten into an argument with Jason, and Claude intervened because he believed Jason was going to be assaulted. Claude said he and Kevin escorted Jason off the property and took different directions on Highway 20. Those statements, however, were found to be false, Creme reported. Claude said in a follow-up interview that Matthew had attacked Jason in a garage at the Juergens property. Claude told investigators that Riley took Jason outside and upon returning said that Jason had been killed. Riley, meanwhile, alleged that Claude was the one who struck Jason. Now, Matthew alleged that Riley and Claude attacked Jason while he was seated in a chair and was later seen bound with his hands behind his back in the rear of a utility terrain vehicle driven by Claude. A woman who also lived in a home at the Juergens property would tell investigators that she saw Matthew unloading a skid steer and operated the loader for up to 30 minutes in the area where Jason's body was found. And these are my own words now, but when Riley was brought in for questioning on the 7th, he literally showed up to the police station wearing a ballistic vest and was armed with an AR-15, a handgun, multiple knives, handcuffs, and pepper spray. I have no idea what his intentions were in bringing these items, but I'm happy no one was hurt, and I'm sure that was a scary experience for everyone involved. During his interview, Riley also mentioned that he should have killed Kevin Scheckler, the owner of the ranch, when he had the chance. But when Riley was questioned, he stated that after he saw Claude hit Jason in the shop, he left because it was not his fight. He went on to say that Claude, Matthew, and Kevin all stayed in the shop after he had left. So if you're not good and confused already, essentially all the men were playing the blame game, but eventually all fingers pointed back to Riley, and all 4 men were arrested that day and the following day on the 8th of November. Matthew's charges include first and second degree murder, first-degree manslaughter, unlawful disposal of human remains, failure to notify the coroner, unauthorized concealment of a body, second-degree taking a motor vehicle without permission, tampering with physical evidence, and making a false or misleading statement to a public servant. Kevin and Claude's charges include first and second-degree murder, first-degree manslaughter, unlawful disposal of human remains, unauthorized concealment of a body, failure to notify the coroner, and making a false or misleading statement to law enforcement. All three of their bonds were set at $750,000. Riley is described as being the ringleader or mastermind behind murdering Jason, and his bond is set at $1 million. The other three men all claimed Riley was the one who made up the alibi, beat Jason to death, and then tied his hands, then buried him. Jason's official cause of death was due to blunt force trauma to his head, and I've also read his body showed signs of being tortured, and I don't know if that was from being beaten or if other things were done to him by the men. Hello, beautiful people. I wanted to do a voiceover for the beginning portion of this video because there was a lot of moving parts and I just didn't want to get anything wrong or get any of the information incorrect. Now, there are a couple of things I would like to mention on camera, and I want to first start off by saying I will not tolerate any hate towards victims or towards the victims' families. That is the fastest way to get yourself blocked from my channel. That being said, I want to mention that Jason had struggled with drug abuse for a little while before his murder. And I only bring this up because people have mentioned this could be related to why he was killed. So Jason had done a drug deal with Riley's girlfriend before his death. So he had messaged her and asked for some meth, and the two met up and she gave him the drugs, and he didn't have any money, so he gave her his Apple Watch to hold as collateral until he could get her the money. And Jason found out that this meth was in fact salt, so he was upset and messaged this woman and said that he wanted his money back. And I am only bringing this up because maybe that's why they beat him to death. Maybe it was over drugs or money. Or like Michael, Jason's father, had mentioned, maybe it was a mixture of all of the things. So I am not trying to disrespect Jason or his family by bringing this up. I have mentioned many times on my channel that my sister, Jessie, used drugs, and people have tried to discredit her disappearance by bringing up her drug use. But yes, that's all I wanted to say on that. And moving on, so a big question is, was this premeditated? Did these men lure Jason out to the ranch in order to take his life and to do what they did to him? We don't know at this point, and I want to mention that I don't know the motive behind why they did this to Jason, and his family may never know why they decided to do this to him and why they killed him in such a violent and horrific way. What I have read, the men are not showing any remorse for what they have done, and the Fox family have received a lot of hate comments and death threats from the men's family and from other people, which is absolutely wild. I can't believe that. And also, after Jason was murdered, his family set up a special memorial area for him where his loved ones could go and visit him essentially and pay their respects. And Pepper, his mom, would go there every single night and light a candle for her baby boy. And you guys, this spot was completely vandalized. People spray painted homophobic slurs all over this memorial. And I really can't imagine what kind of person would do such a horrible thing to a sacred area. Jason was beaten to death. Jason was beaten to death. His family should be allowed all the space to grieve and be as angry as they want to be. And people need to allow him to rest in peace and show as much respect to the Fox family as possible. But after his memorial site was destroyed, his family really started to wonder if Jason's murder was in fact a hate crime. And police have tried to push away from this narrative and simply said they don't know if it was. And they have said that the hate crime theory has harmed the case. Jason's story has gotten a lot of attention on TikTok and Instagram, and it's awesome that we are all talking about this and getting his information out there because his story needs to be heard. But his case is not getting the national coverage it deserves. So all four men are pleading guilty in regards to Jason's murder. The trial begins on April 5th, and I hope the justice system will do its job. And we don't want to see no 7-year sentences or anything like that. We want them to do a lot of time for what they were a part of. And the police are staying pretty tight-lipped on what evidence and information they have. So we will just have to stand by and see what happens. And Pepper is organizing the first Pride event in Newport, Washington on Jason's 20th birthday. So on April 3rd, which is 2 days before the trial begins. And if you are in the area or wish to attend, I really encourage you to do so. And I think it's so awesome that she is doing the first Pride event in Jason's honor. Also, there is a GoFundMe if you would like to donate some money. All of the proceeds will go in helping the Fox family with lawyer expenses, possibly hiring a private investigator, and just a laundry list of other expenses that they are facing when trying to find justice for Jason. I want to end this video by sending my deepest condolences to the Fox family and to all those who loved him. And it seems like he touched so many lives, and he was completely robbed of his life and his youth in such a senseless way. And I hope everyone can find healing on their journey of grief and mourning. And these men being put away is a relief to the family, I'm sure, but it'll never bring Jason back. And justice for Jason Fox. But I will leave everything linked below for you guys. And that is it for me today. I hope you're all having a wonderful day, whatever you're out there doing in the world. And thank you again for taking the time to hear Jason's story. And leave me a comment below, hashtag Justice for Jason Fox. But I'll see you guys on the next one, okay? Bye.